potential buyers. Here, I'm going to close you guys up. So, hey, just so you guys know, I can't see your faces anymore. So if you want to talk, just unmute and interrupt me, okay? All right. So there's this thing on MLS called reverse prospecting. So you can only see it on your own listings, or I can see it as the broker. But reverse prospecting is telling me how many potential buyers are set up on MLS searches that got our listing. And when we first went on the market for the last 30 days, we've had 141 people looking at it. So when I said, guys, we need to do a price reduction, last night we talked about it, price reduction, they said, we want to go to 379. And I said, that is 4,000 away from a major price cap. You know, when you're an agent and you set your buyers up on a search in MLS, you typically are going to cap in this price range at like $25,000 increments. So 375 or 400. If we do a price reduction between those two, we're missing some buyers. And so I said, I really would hate for us to be 4,000 away from more buyers. You know, what if it's the buyer that's going to buy this home? And so I convinced them to do 375. And when that happened, it sent us to, if you look at the date sent, it gave us 18 more buyers that saw it. And one of them hearted it, which makes me very excited. So, yeah. So that's good. You know, that's good potential exposure that we got opened up to. And so I am running for this open house. I'm running a Facebook ad. I'm boosting it for like 20 bucks. And then I'm going to do what's called a reverse prospect email. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. So, and you don't have to memorize this, but I just wanted you guys to get the gist of it. So I've gone, let's recap what I just did. So on my homepage on MLS, I've got this My Listings box. And so I go into my active listings, I select Lynch, and I go to reverse prospect, and that gives me the agent's email here. Now, this reference number references the specific buyer they have set up on this search. So if I called one of them and said, hey, Lisa, your buyer favorited my reverse prospecting, you know, you have a reverse prospecting client who favorited my listing, I'd love to invite them to the open house. She'd be like, well, which buyer is it? Because she may have multiple buyers set up on it. And so I would give her that reference number. Yep. So if I go into my contacts on here, these are all my clients in MLS. Now they're not all currently on searches, but I have lots on searches. And so that's how I would figure out over here by the reference number who they are. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So now what I want to do is I want to email these agents, hey, we just did this big price reduction and we're doing an open house this weekend. Please invite your client. And I would title it in the subject line, reverse prospect. So the agent immediately knows, oh, this is potentially for one of my buyers. And so the way I would do that is you copy all of this data right here, which is kind of a pain. There's not an easier way to do it, but you copy and go throw it into an Excel. Maybe. Yeah. I don't use this computer very often. So if I go paste, I'm going to delete every column except the emails. Everybody with me so far? And then all I care about are the emails. And I'm going to go through those emails. I'm then going to copy and paste the emails. Well, first of all, I'm going to sort it and get rid of duplicates. Which now I don't remember how to do. I haven't done it in a while. Consider data. Anyways, there's a way to do it. I can't remember. You can Google how to get rid of duplicates. Anyways, so you get rid of the duplicates because some agents may have multiple searches on there. I'm on there. Why am I on there? Who can tell me why I'm in this list? Extra bonus point. You see yourself. No, because I immediately, when I started working with the seller and we signed a listing agreement, I wanted them watching the market. I wanted them to see their competition around them. So I'm on there and that's my seller who's then watching all the other one stores in the area on the market so that we're on the same page with every week when we talk, like, hey, none of the homes have gone under contract, or everybody's gone under contract but us, right? Like, we can talk about
Just to
it.
keep them in the loop.
Keep them in the loop, keep them educated. So I do that the minute I start working with a seller, I put them on a search for the area. So that's why I'm on the list. But so I'm going to, so the next step would be, if, let's say I got rid of the duplicates, I would copy this, and you have a couple different options. MailChimp is a good program, and I think you can send up to like 1,000 emails a month for free. And so I could throw them into a MailChimp email and say, come to my open house. And then again, in the subject line, it's really important you do the right subject line to capture those agents' attention, because as an agent, you guys will soon start getting a million emails from agents. And it needs to be, that subject line needs to be like a really big hook, or they're just going to delete it, right? So every time, as an example, every time I get a subject line that says lake view or lake lot or waterfront, I always look at them, because I always want to, not that I can buy more waterfront, but I like to look. And so I always will look at those. If it says reverse prospect, I'll usually look at those, because I'll be like, which client is this for? Is it a great way for me to learn something, to reach out to that client and talk to them about it? So MailChimp is a good one. I could just go into my Google and make sure you do a BCC and just copy and paste them all into BCC. The problem with that, though, is you're risking Google flagging you as spam the minute you send more than 100 emails at a time. So keep that in mind. And sometimes they'll even shut you down and say you can't send any more emails for the day. So I don't recommend, if it's just like, I have one seller, look at this. So I have one seller, and this is just a very unique situation. When I go to my reverse prospect, it's a lot. I have 7 people on it. So that I can send them an email, BCC, no problem, right? This is a unique lot out in Horseshoe Bay. We're not exposed to enough buyers. I've told them that. And actually I need to make a note to reach out to them. Land is really hard to sell. We're not going to talk about that right now. But anyways, so like if it's only 8 people, you can do a BCC email. But when there's 141, I would recommend using a MailChimp or a CRM. You can do it in our CRM if you want to. That's easy enough to do as well. I use a company called Active Pipe, or I'll be sending mine. But that's how you do that. So if you ever hear of an agent saying, oh, pull your reverse prospect list and send out an email, that's what we're talking about. And you can even call those agents one by one. The problem when you call them is they're like, I don't know what listing you're talking about. I don't know what buyer, like I've had agents call me before and I'm like, that's great. But like to give you an example, I put a buyer on the market or on an MLS search last week for waterfront out where my house is, like towards Granite Shoal, LBJ. And within an hour, I got phone calls from 2 agents. And I'm, and they're talking to me about the property. I'm like, well, I haven't even seen the results. I just put my client on it and he's just starting his search, like I appreciate the information, but like, it was like, to me, it's either email or texting, maybe text a photo about the house and why we should care. Like, oh, we're doing an incentive right now to get under contract by the end of the year. We're giving $10,000 extra credit or something, like whatever it is. But calling somebody out of the blue without any references is kind of hard. So I don't necessarily recommend calling, but you never know. One time I needed showings on a listing. We were sitting and sitting and sitting. So I did a reverse prospect email and I said, hey, your buyer may not even be looking to buy right now. I just need showings and eyeballs on my listing. I'll give you a $10 Starbucks gift card if you go see my home. And I just bribed them to go see the home. And it went under contract within 2 weeks after me doing that. It was a total coincidence, but it demonstrated to my seller that I was trying everything I could to get showings, if that makes sense.
So what was the purpose of that? Just to confidence to your seller?
So to prove to my seller that I'm trying to get eyeballs on it. And if an agent goes and sees it, then at least it's top of mind for them. So that when they're talking to their potential buyers, they're like, man, I saw this one. It actually looks better than in pictures. We should go see it.
So exposure.
It's just exposure. Yep. Okay. So that is reverse prospecting, and we'll do more. We'll work more on that when you guys have some listings. Okay, let's talk about buyers and let's price a listing right now. We're gonna work on pricing a listing, and then we're gonna talk about a buyer consultation I have on Friday. Okay, so I got a call. Now, what I'm about to tell you all, because I don't know how to tell you all this without giving away information. When you talk to a client, it's confidential. Like you never can tell anybody else about the conversations with our clients, right? And this isn't a client yet. However, it is a current listing that's set to expire, and they've approached me to sell the home. So we can't be out there talking about this example, because if the listing agent was next to you and caught wind of it, she'd have a problem. Like, I've done nothing wrong because the seller came to me. They seeked me out, and I have proof of that. It is absolutely illegal to go solicit an existing listing. That is torturous interference. You're interfering with a legal contract. You cannot do it. It is a hard no. But if the seller comes to you and says, hey, we're going to fire agent, or it's going to expire, we're interviewing agents, game on, you can do that. Now, what I can't do in this conversation with my seller tonight is I can't say, oh, fire them tomorrow and let's get this going. All I can do is respect that relationship. I'm not going to talk bad about the agent. I'm just going to talk about the market and what I know and give them options. Okay. Does that make sense? All right. So the first thing I want to do is share with you the listing, let you guys kind of study it a little. So those of you that have computers in front of you and want to look at it, it's 141 Sydney's Way in Creekside Park. I want you guys to tell me why it's not selling. And so I'll go through the photos here, and then I'm going to read through some of the comments. How do we hide this? Hide footing controls. Okay. So you guys can see this a little better. So we've got 3 different floorings right when you walk in the house. We have gold fixtures. I'm not trying to tell you guys the answers, but I'm gonna try and help you. Okay, kitchen. In MLS it says the dishwasher doesn't work, the stove doesn't work. Hasn't been updated. Let me go back. You'll notice like there's something going on in the ceiling here. It looks like maybe over here. There's also on the disclosure talk about my screen's dirty, so that doesn't help. That may be something. It is MLS number is 620-6527. So bathrooms haven't been updated. Upstairs carpet. Ooh, some really pretty paint colors here. Multiple pink stripes, nice. It's neutral paint. Oh, fence, huge yard, but fence is falling down in areas, so that's a problem. Yeah.
What's your yard?
So there's the floor plan, which is nice that they have. And the good thing is the master bedroom is downstairs on this. So that is a good thing. Okay. In here, if we go to agent full, we'll read private remarks. So there are some areas of deterioration. There was a condensation line leak over the kitchen ceiling, and then they put that in the disclosure along with the appliance issues. So how does anybody have an idea of, if I want to know how this is priced compared to competition, what should I do? So first of all, let's make a note. So we are in Creekside Park. We're 2747 square feet, master down, 3 up. And we're pretty original, 99 build. All right, everybody with me so far? Okay, so since nobody wants to talk, I'm gonna tell you all the answers, but that's okay. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is go look at Creekside Park activity. I want to study the last 6 months, what's gone on there. Everybody follow me? All right, so we're gonna do Creekside Park. Now I'm going to do Buda because there could be other Creekside Parks, and especially now that our MLS shares data with HAR and Sabor, I could end up with Creekside Parks in other cities and I don't want those. And
Is
it's
there a
not.
reason why you did 6 months rather than the 90 days, Garland?
Yeah, so because I've already done this, I went to 180, but you would want to start with 90. So let me start with 90. Good question. Good catch.
And what's the cost on that one?
The price,
Price.
they were at 335, I think.
Yeah.
We'll see in a second. So let's do 90 days, but look, I only get 2 matches. And the 2 matches are gonna be 1 under contract and 1 active Rs. So we're gonna go back and do 180 days because I need more data. You always, especially in a declining market, Tio's right, you want to start as close to today as possible. So 90 days is the furthest you want to go back, but unfortunately we got to go back more. So we've got 3 solds. One is 2,100 square feet, sold for 339. Let's go look at him. He is a bigger 2-story. He is all beds up. Ours has the master down, which is much more desirable. And we've got a 4th bedroom and we're bigger. And he's much cleaner than us. Does that make sense? Everybody saying that? You know, so right away we can tell we got a price problem. And so tonight in my discussion, it will be trying to understand the pricing.
Did that one go on?
Cute
Contract
backyard.
pretty quick?
Good question. Did it go under contract quickly? 5 days.
Yeah, I think there were 2 on that one.
So we, we're bigger, but we are not in good shape. So then let's go back. I'm gonna go back a little bit further because there's a comp I want you guys to see that we'll have to deal with. So Carolyn's Way is pretty much the same floor plan, same year built, a big lot like us. He took a long time to sell, but sold for 373. And we're like, well, we're at 335. This was back in March and we are in a declining market. So we're not getting that. And we're especially not getting that in our condition, right? So I want to go see though, what was the condition of this one? And this one's been updated. It's super cute. It's got the colors people want, it's got fresh new carpet, new vanities, those are original probably, but super cute and super clean. So what this does though, it gives me a good idea of potentially what's the upside if it's remodeled. So then you have to think, well, at 335, that home is easily going to take 30, potentially 40,000 to remodel it easily, right? And a buyer's probably going to think 50 to 100,000 because they're going to be dramatic. And if the most it could get is 373, and I think that's too high because we're in a declining market, it's probably worth maybe 360 now, then we're really way too high in our condition. Does that make sense? That's how we back out. So like, let's say our max price is 360, it's going to take us 60, then the max he should be at is about 300 price-wise for his condition. So in tonight's appointment, I'm going to talk about, tell me how have showings been, what has feedback been. We're going to do a search in a minute beyond this because a buyer isn't only looking in this neighborhood, right? They're looking, a buyer for this home wants a big home, and they probably want beauty, period. So we're going to go look at others in a second and see what's on the market. But what I'm going to do for this buyer is offer up some options. I need to understand, or seller, I keep saying buyer, for the seller. I need to understand like how much do they owe on the home, right? Maybe they can't afford to come down. Now I've looked it up. They bought it a long time ago. There's good equity in it, so we're okay there. But that may not always be the case. So I want to know, like, have you and your agent talked about price reductions? Why aren't we lower? Where's the disconnect, right? Is it the agent who's not doing a good job of telling them? Or is it him who's refusing to come down anymore for whatever reason, right? I need to understand that. And let's just say hypothetically, he has to net a certain amount of money and he can't come down anymore. So one option I can present to him is we have a company that will go in and do a remodel and update it all, and then he can sell for 360. And maybe there's enough money to make those numbers work. And you don't have to do the whole remodel, but maybe we could do enough to get him some more equity out of it. So one of the suggestions I would offer to him is perhaps we look at that option if we decide to work together. Now, I'm not telling him the name of the company that I have in my pocket because that's something he would need to hire me for us to use. Another option is I personally would be willing to, and this is an investment strategy that you can consider doing in the future, maybe, maybe not. I have some agents that do it, I do it, but I could say, look, I could come see it. We would determine what it truly is worth right now. And in my opinion, I think 3 is probably too high. I think it's more like 250 to 275. Depending on the roof and the AC. If the roof and AC are in good shape, then maybe closer to 3. But we would determine, like, let's say bottom price is 275. I'm willing to front the 40,000, and anything over what I put into it, we would split the profit of. Does that make sense? And the way I would do that is I would put a lien on the home to protect my interest. I would make sure I have control of the listing and everything so that they can't, like, let me do all this work and then they pull the home off the market and then I'm stuck without my money. Does that make sense? So that's another option. Or what we could do is the home could come off the market. I then could just email the 40 investors I have and say, get us your best and final offer. Here's an off-market opportunity. And then investors love off-market opportunities because they don't want a sales history online. So once this expires, that may be something they'd want to do. And so I could just, like, within a weekend, I would do an open house, have all the investors come through the open house within those 2 or 3 hours, and they give me their best offers, and I can present those to him. Now, those offers are going to be in that 250, 275 range, but it could be cash quick close and he's done with it. And he may want, he doesn't have to do the remodel and all of that. And he may want to do that. He may need it done by the end of the year. He may need money out. I don't know the situation, but I'm going to present all of those options to him. The other option is we can go back on the market in the condition it is in. However, one of the things that I think is really plaguing him is the water issue. So it says, like, there's a couple windows I think that have leaked and a ceiling in the kitchen issue. So my first question is, have all those causes been repaired, right? Did we fix the window leak? Did we fix the ceiling leak? And we just have bad sheetrock. If we just have bad sheetrock, then let's fix the sheetrock and fix whatever water damage there is. And then at a minimum, I would replace some light fixtures so that at least we're not gold when we walk in the door. I think that's kind of the kiss of death. So we can, and I'm assuming the carpet is in decent shape, right? If I go in and the carpet's trash, then this strategy won't work. But it's like, what is the minimum we could put into it to get it so that buyers will consider it? Because a first-time home buyer in this price point, when you say water damage and it hasn't been remediated, that is like Pandora's box, and you don't know where the damage ends, and if the leaks haven't even been fixed, that's a whole nother problem, right? So no one's buying that at this price point with that. Now, do I think we could replace light fixtures, fix the water leaks, and go back on at 335? No, I think we're probably down at like 310, maybe 315, maybe. But without paint and flooring, we're not getting that higher price. Does that make sense? So I have lots of options to discuss with them tonight, and we'll just see where we land. Any questions on any of that from me?
What I'm looking at is the price per square foot. It
Yep.
seems pretty low.
It is, but when you look at, like, so we're 40,000 below the one that sold like us, right? But the question is, well, 40,000, but that was in a better market, right? So if it's really done, can it get 375? Probably not, probably 360. And so then the buyers, most buyers in this market don't have money to put into it like that, right? So we're really only attracting investors as potential buyers. Well, there's not enough margin in that number at all for an investor to look at it. There's no way. So the way investors work is they're gonna say, what is the after remodel value? And the ARV is what they call it. The ARV on this home is, they're all gonna be conservative in a declining market and possibly say 350, like it could be 350. So at 350, how much do I have to put into it? And I need to make a profit is where they're going. Does that make sense?
And if they want to rent it out, they want to.
Most,
Sure.
yeah, most investors that I'm talking about are like flippers. They're gonna want a profit. So they're gonna want a 10% profit of at least 30,000. And they gotta put another 40 into it, so they're at 70,000. So we're at like, if our max is 350, then they're at 270 on an offer, if we're lucky. And I think the offers will probably be closer to 250. Does everybody understand how I did that math and got there? So, and that's why if I partnered with him and I'm the one that invests the money to remodel it, I'm gonna want like a agreed upon 250. You get the first 250, I get reimbursed my 50 that I put into it, and then everything over those two numbers, we split 50-50 is how I would present it. Unless he's got the money to do it, but I doubt it if he does, because he would have done it by now.
I didn't know you could do that.
You can, you just gotta legally protect yourself. You
Yeah.
wanna file a lien, you have an attorney help you do it. And you wanna be really smart about it. You wanna make sure like you control the pricing, like it's gotta be very black and white and all in writing. But yeah, you totally can do that. It's a good option, yeah. Or if you don't wanna be the one fronting the money and taking that risk, like I said, there's a company that'll do it. I'm drawing a blank on what the stupid company, like the salesperson, her name's Keely, but I can't remember the company's name. I'll look it up. She sponsored our company meeting a couple months ago. Free model. I think that's what it's called, free model. Let's look real quick. Oh, I don't want to look there. Let's do this. I'm pretty sure it's free model. Yeah.
Do they have to sell it right now, or do they need to sell
So-
it?
That's.
Well, that's what I don't know yet. That's what I've got to have with them
You
tonight.
can let us know next week.
Okay.
I will give you an update. Yes, yes, for sure. Let's see. Free model.
The electric pole in the backyard is concerning.
The what?
I believe I saw an electric pole in their backyard.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it, but
Yeah.
they are all over the
Concerning.
place. It's pretty common. I mean, like it's not in their backyard. There's an
Oh,
easement
good.
behind the house back here.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I-
yeah.
Now I see
But
that. In one of
there-
the photos, I thought it was like actually in their fenced inside their backyard, and I was like, ooh.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, no. Yeah, they're everywhere. I was just showing, homes in Sunfield and we're like, oh, look at the power lines right behind you. So freemodel.com is the name of the company. And they basically they'll go out and do bids and they'll do like just the paint, just the flooring or a full remodel, whatever. They just usually will not go outside of the home's footprint. So they're not going to go add more square footage outside, but they'll give you a free bid and they look at the market and they, will show you how much more money you'll get by hiring them to do it. And they'll carry the expense of it until closing, but you've got 6 months to get it sold. Otherwise, you're figuring out something else and a way to pay them back. And the thing to keep in mind, it's like they advertise that they don't charge insurance or interest for carrying that cost, but it's because it's built into their rehab cost, like they're making money, nobody does anything for free, but it's an option for sure. So, and Free Model's done several of our listings, like the company's used them several times, so.
Their prices are good.
Yeah, another one is renovation sells. But renovation sells, the client has to pay the money themselves up front. They will not carry it. But they're another company that does. Okay, any other questions on that? And then we're gonna talk about buyers. All right, let's go jump into buyers. So I have a buyer that I've been working with for a really long time. That's why sometimes when you get buyers, you go, yay, money. And then it's like 2 years later, you get paycheck. Okay. So my buyer has gone through, I met with them to sell their home, to discuss selling their home, and they wanted to buy. And through the process, they've decided, and at that point, they were going to buy something more expensive. But they've decided they're keeping the home. They don't want to sell it. And so now our price points come way down because they're going to have two homes. And so we are looking at homes for sale under 315 in Buda. And one came, well, didn't come on the market. I think it just like got a price reduction. And so we ran out and looked at it last Sunday and they really like it. And so I'm going to give you the story and my 2 cents on this house. And then we're going to talk about what the next steps are for you guys. So let me find it if I can remember. I have shown so many houses this week. My head hurts. Oh, there it is. Okay, 124 Blossom Valley. So it is in Meadows at Buda. My first remarks are Meadows at Buda is, I don't know if you guys know where it is, but it's southeast of us. And it's right by the blasting area for the cement plant. And because of that, most of the homes in there have had foundation issues, especially the original phases. The original phases, that builder went bankrupt because they did not design and engineer the homes to handle the blasting. This home just had foundation work done. So normally I would be like, oh, we can't consider this neighborhood. I'd be like, no, we're not going to do it. However, my client's price point is really, really tight. They're really, really picky. They only want a certain area. Like they don't want to be too far off of I-35. So we're not looking at Shadow Creek or anything like that. And this home just had the foundation done and a new roof done. And it's totally remodeled and it's adorable. And so 288, it's a great price. And it's a cute floor plan. We looked at it, we love it. And so their hesitation, of course, is the foundation. But when we looked at the foundation report, all of the foundation's been redone. So sometimes, like I have another buyer who looked at one and only 4 piers were done, while the foundation warranty is only going to warrant where those 4 piers were done. So if that rest of the house moves, you're on your own, right? Whereas this, the whole house has been redone. And so if it moves, the warranty will kick into place and fix it. Now, if it moves again, there'll be more cracks in sheetrock and they're going to have to pull up flooring to do work on it. So there is an inconvenience issue and probably replacing flooring again when it happens. And the flooring is not part of the warranty. The warranty is only on the foundation repair. So that's something to keep in mind. But if you're getting a really cute house in Buda for 288 or less, it's really maybe not a bad idea. Does that make sense? Everybody with me on how we got here? Okay, so my appointment on Friday, so tomorrow at noon, I'm talking to them about numbers. They want to understand numbers. And they've gotten pre-approved with Travis. And I said, Travis, I really think I can get them off of the 288 price point, the seller. But what I want to go through with my buyer tomorrow is talking about, does it make sense to roll in the closing costs? Or maybe we use the closing costs to buy down the interest rate. We can do a temporary 3-year buy down on the interest rate to get their payment lower. So I'm going to talk about all those options with them. But what I first need are to understand the numbers. So I needed the lender to tell me, like, what kind of loan are we getting? We're getting an FHA loan. That's the only way they're going to be able to approve it is FHA, because their debt to income is higher because of the other house. Does that make sense? So we can't do conventional.
Do you do it? I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, how much are we planning to put down?
So the minimum, because we're not selling the other home that has all the equity in it, we're not getting that equity out for a big down payment. That's part of why our price point's so low too. So FHA is a 3.5% down. If they qualified conventional, we could have done a 3% down. The reason I like a conventional over an FHA with a low down payment is that on conventional, I can get rid of my mortgage insurance once I hit that 80-20% equity. On FHA, your mortgage insurance is there for the rest of the life of the loan. It never goes away, no matter how much equity there is. So I don't love FHA for that reason, but if it means we can get them into a home and they're happy, like, who cares? Does that make sense? Like, we pick our battles. So what I wanted to look at is like, okay, Travis, what's the rate going? And at the time we pulled this, which was a few days ago, FHA was at 5.9. And then what we're going to talk about is like, the closing costs. So when I met with them last Saturday, I knew they had the down payment and I said, there are going to be some closing costs involved. you guys have that on top of it, or do we want to negotiate it? And they said, well, we have it, but we may want to keep it. And so one of the things we'll talk about tomorrow is an offer strategy. You know, if I can get them to pay your closing costs, or hopefully I can get them off the price and pay your closing costs, you know, do we want to do that? And we're going to look at those options. So what I normally do when I start talking to a buyer, and we want to compare options, I will, based on what I think their concerns are, I will do a spreadsheet that shows them different options. And so like this spreadsheet is a buy with money down or no down. This is a payment option spreadsheet. Like, so at different offer amounts, what does that do to my monthly payment? FHA versus VA, owner finance, well, there's all kinds of other stuff.
Create all of these?
I did. So, I think this is in the portal. Let's go look real quick. I'm pretty sure under company docs, under buyers. So I've got a buyer payment estimator in there. I guess that's the only one I have. So it probably doesn't have as many fancy sheets as mine has at this point. I keep adding on to mine. Okay, so I've got buyer estimate. So this was a spreadsheet I created. My buyers, like, I have 500,000. I want to buy in the Buda Kyle area. At the time, the rate was at 6.5%. I wanted to show them how property taxes affect their monthly payment, because a $500,000 home isn't the same in Sunfield as it is maybe where the property tax rate's lower in Six Creeks or Anthem. Well, Anthem's really high, or Garlic Creek. So I wanted to show them the difference. And that's why, and you can see how property taxes drastically affect a monthly payment. That's why it's really important to revisit what is my payment going to be on this particular home, because the property taxes can change. Depending on the age of the home, the insurance, homeowner's insurance can change drastically. Like if it's an older home with an older roof, then the monthly payment for that month, the homeowner's insurance could be $50 more a month versus a brand new home, you know? So it's really important to, like, yes, when we do a buyer consultation, we'll talk about numbers, but once we start finding homes we really like, we want to get really specific. I don't want to contract. What I don't want to do is assume they're fine with the payment. We just negotiate right up an offer. Then Travis says, here's your payment. Now they're like, oh, I don't want, that's too high for me. You know, like we want to address all that up front. We don't want it busting because of numbers. And I need to know too, am I rolling in closing costs now or not? And so that's part of what we'll go through tomorrow. There we go. So part of what we'll talk about, like in his estimate, their payment all in is $2,500 a month. And that's with a pretty decent hazard insurance, $175. I don't think it'll be that high, but I'd much rather he estimate higher than lower. Some lenders, just to get the business, will go really low on that number, and I hate that. We used to be able to estimate $100 a month, but that's just not the case for homeowners insurance anymore. It's gotten so expensive. Any other questions on all of that? Okay. The other thing I wanted to show you guys quickly
I had a quick question.
is, yeah, go for it.
That net sheet or that buyers, for example, like right now, I have a couple of people that are getting approved with some lenders, and eventually they're gonna get approved, right? They're gonna want to know what their all-in monthly payment's gonna be, which is on your right, the 25 and some change, and then the closing cost is on your left, which is the 18,725, correct?
Yeah, this includes their $10,000 down payment.
Down payment.
Yep.
Okay. So that paper right there is some papers that the lender that could give you of all the numbers going into the loan and just
It's
basically
a fee
explain.
it's called a fee worksheet. Every lender should be able to do them. The thing to keep in mind when you're talking to a buyer up front in the buyer consultation, because you don't have a specific home, they could go talk to 3 different lenders, get 3 different free worksheets, and they really kind of don't mean crap. Like what you do care about is what the lender charges, fees kind of situation. But beyond that, they're all going to estimate taxes differently. They're all going to estimate insurance differently. And you don't know what rate they're going to get until you are ready to lock in on a house and pick the home because you can't lock a rate until you've picked the home. And you're usually within 30 days or 60 days of closing. So you've got to take those estimates with a grain of salt. So what I do is I'll say, hey, buyer, talk to Travis. He's great. He'll help us understand the numbers. And then that way I can, if once I know, okay, they need to go FHA, so I know how to figure that out. I know that we need closing costs. So I know I'm going to be rolling those in. Like all of that will help me when I go to find homes they want to buy. I can give them specific examples, but it's at the time they pick the home where they really need to pick the lender. Like if they are going to shop the lender at all, then they need to do it right now before we write that offer, or right when we write the offer. Within that option period at the latest, because that lender is going to need 30 days to get it closed, so they've got to pick. And so like these people could, talk to Travis and talk to a couple others and see. Travis is very, very competitive in the resale market, but if these buyers were going new construction, Travis really can't compete in new construction because the builders are doing amazing deals that the normal lenders can't compete with. But Align's fees are very, very low. A lot of what's in this payment is what's called their escrow setup. So their initial escrow account of $2,000 and $2,800. So of that $8,000 in closing costs, $5,000 of that is their setting up their escrow and paying their homeowner's insurance for a year. So that's a big chunk of it. Remind me next time we get together, I just helped the client analyze their escrow account, and I want to teach you guys that because we're going to start dealing with property taxes a lot. And so I'll make sure we do that in the next class. Okay, we've got 12 minutes left. What questions do you guys have on anything I've covered or anything else? Has this sparked anything that you're like, oh, I needed to ask her about this or that? And while you guys are all thinking, I'm going to look at my notes and make sure I remember everything I wanted to go over with you. Don't forget to give me your points today for them to count for the day. All right, I've covered all my stuff. Okay. If there's no questions, then we can either do some scripting real quick, or I can show you that escrow analysis. It's kind of time consuming and confusing, and I feel like I've already confused you guys with a bunch of numbers, so we probably don't want to do that. Is there any scripting you guys want me to practice and run with you guys? Anyone had any conversations with potential buyers or sellers in the last week where you're like, I wonder if I could have said this better? Don't all talk at once. All right, let's do some open house role play. How about that? Okay. I'm answering my own questions. Okay, good. So in the portal, well, in your notebooks, there's a whole section about open houses and the scripts for open houses. And the number one thing I want to teach you guys in an open house is that there are two types of leads. Well, three. One's not a lead. So three types of people. Let's back up. Three types of people. I'm trying to talk and do this at the same time. I may not be able to find this right now. I don't want to waste time doing this. Let's see. Trying to find your open house. Whatever. Okay, forget that. So a prospect walks into an open house and they're going to fall into one of three categories. They either don't want any help, they have an agent, you're not going to go get anywhere with them, right? Or they're going to start talking to you, they don't have an agent and they need help. And if they need help, they're going to be one of two categories. They're either going to be like not very open to talking, not really answering a ton of questions, not giving a lot to work with. And so those people, you may, if you're lucky, have them fill out your feedback form, get their contact information, and now you're chasing those leads. Or they're answering your questions. They truly do want some help. They're appreciating the value you're giving them while they're at that open house, and you're able to close for an appointment. The goal is out of the next 40 open houses you do in the next year, you want to be able to close for appointment on at least 8 leads. Hopefully more than that, but 8's the minimum out of 40. Okay, so we're not looking for those great conversations and 2 appointments at every open house. It's not gonna happen. Some open houses are gonna have no people. Some open houses are gonna be, they all have agents. You know, you're gonna get all different types. But it's a numbers game, and out of those 40, you should easily be able to get 8. And let's role play what that looks like, okay? So Jay, you're gonna be my buyer who just came through my open house, and like, you're giving me all these green lights. You're telling me that you rent in the neighborhood, you want to stay in the neighborhood, your kids love it here, but your lease, let's say your lease isn't up for another 8 months, okay? So you just tell me that. Just say my lease,
My lease is gonna be up in 8 months.
Gotcha. Okay, but this is the neighborhood you're looking to buy in? That's awesome. I'm so excited for you. I love it. How do you think this house works for you? Is this the right size, too big, too small?
We like the school district, and this neighborhood has a good family feel, and yeah, as far as
What about this particular house?
yeah, it's the bedrooms, the way it's laid out, it's perfect. The backyard we love.
Okay, good. Wonderful. Well, you know what I'd love to do is just set a time for us to get together to go over what the next 8 months look like. You know, I'd love to go through the home buying process, educate you on the money involved, the steps involved. What's wonderful about your timeline is that you've got some great room to plan and make some tweaks to maybe your credit score so you get a better interest rate, or saving a little more money down to avoid extra monthly expenses, you know, like those kind of things. When you've got time to plan for all that, can really save you a lot of money in the big picture. And so what I love to do is meet with buyers like yourself and just educate you, pour into you, give you all the information so that you're educated going forward. And in that appointment, we'll get to know each other a little bit better and decide if we want to work together. How does that sound? Awesome. Well, you made that way too easy. Yeah.
Too, that were looking.
Yeah,
And I didn't really.
The minute they're giving you green flag, green flag.
Let's meet.
Yes, we need to meet.
Yeah.
We want to meet. The goal is a meet. And what I really love is like, you know what, my open house is gonna be done in a half an hour. How about we go look at some homes as soon as I'm done here? You know, go get a drink, come back, and let's go look at homes. Like, that's the best kind of meeting. Now you're like going, Carlin, they haven't signed a buyer rep. You're right. We need an IBS and we need a showing only form. I'm not gonna get you to commit to a buyer rep in that, but you can sign a showing only form that allows me to go show you those couple homes. And then after I show you a couple of homes and we're really bonded, now I'm setting the buyer consultation. So now we're gonna try the role play again.
Have those forms ready.
You have a couple forms on hand always, yeah. And always have like the active listings in the neighborhood so you can look and see what's vacant, what could I show quickly, that kind of thing. But so if I can't show right away, then I'm gonna close for an appointment. Let's do a buyer consultation this next week. And if you tell me I'm leasing for the next 8 months, I may fill out, I'll even share with you how maybe we could get you out of your lease so you can take advantage of the opportunities in this market now. It's just great to be educated, you know? I'm gonna try and close for an appointment 3 times while you're with me. The first time, if you shoot me down, it may be because I haven't built enough trust and rapport with you. So I'm gonna try and like, no worries. So say, oh, I'm not ready yet, okay?
I'm just not ready.
No, I totally understand. And you know, I'm not looking for a hard commitment at all right now, but like I said, 8 months, you've got time to plan and prepare. But if you don't know and haven't learned about the process and the money involved and why credit scores are so important, then you don't know what to do in those 8 months to be ready. And so, you know, let me just buy you a cup of coffee. I'll go through the process. I won't even ask you for a commitment at the end. I just want to educate you. And then, you know, later on down the road, if you decide you want to work with me, that's great. How does that sound? Nobody turns down a free Starbucks, right? Yeah, it's less pressure, takes off the pressure. If you say no to me again, then my 3rd time, I'm going to build room, I'm going to back off, I'm going to ask more questions, build a little more rapport, and then I'm just going to close for a follow-up phone call. And I'm going to say, look, maybe you say, hey, I haven't even talked to my husband about this. He doesn't even know I'm here. So we definitely can't meet yet. And so summarize that to me, say that to me.
Well, I came here on my own, and my husband
Gotcha.
Would actually, yes.
Another
Be
decision
involved.
maker, I totally understand, not a worry. Why don't we do this? How about I set a time to give you a call, like, give you the weekend to talk to your husband about it. I'll call you Monday evening, 6 o'clock. Would that work? And then we'll talk about times that are available for the two of you to meet next week. And if you talk to him and he says no way, I'll respect that too, and we can shut it down. You know, if nothing else, at least I'll also get your email address. I can email you some information. And then I'll call you Monday at 6. How does that sound? And so we schedule an appointment, but this time, the third time, it's for a phone call. Now, Jay is going to ignore my phone call. She's not going to answer my phone call Monday night at 6 because something else has gotten in the way. You know, kids are going to baseball practice, whatever it is, right? She's like, oh crap, I forgot about the phone call. I'm letting you go to voicemail. That's okay. I am then going to turn around. First of all, after she's left the open house, and with every lead that's come to my open house, I am texting a video recording of me saying, thank you very much for stopping by. It was so great to meet you. I hope you have a great day. If they filled out my open house feedback sheet, right? Video text. Why? Because they will remember who you are through video. If you just shoot them a text, what if they went to 2 or 3 other open houses? They have no idea who you are compared to the others. No clue. A video text is a great way to start building a rapport and trust without having conversations with them. So we're video texting. So I'm going to say, thanks so much for stopping by. I'm going to call you Monday at 6. I'm then going to call Monday at 6 and you're not going to answer. I'm going to leave a message and shoot a text that says, hey, I'm sorry we missed each other. No worries. I'm going to follow up again next Monday at 6. But feel free to text and reach out before then if you want to connect. And I'm going to keep doing that. And eventually I'm not going to do it every week. I may do it every 2 weeks until she's ready to talk to me. But I'm always in that conversation, that voicemail and that text. I'm going to set a next call date and time. And I'm going to make every single one of those call dates and time. I'm not going to miss them. And what that does is demonstrate that I do what I say. I'm trustworthy. And I'm a go-getter, right? Which is something most people want in their agent who's going to help them buy a home. So you're demonstrating that even if they're like sending you to voicemail every single time until they're ready, because otherwise they tell you to go away. And so if you do that, you'll convert. Yep. Yeah. You know, and after like 4 months of doing that, you can be like, hey, tell me to go away and I'll go away, you know, but otherwise leave the message, leave the message, leave the message. But the key is you're setting an appointment to leave the next message. You're setting the appointment to follow up and you're proving that you're trustworthy and do what you say. All right. I have 1 minute left and then I have to run out the door for a meeting. Any questions, last minute, anything?
So for open house, you always want to come prepared, you know, have your active listings, have your showing form, IEBS, everything just in case.
Yes. So what you want to do, if you haven't watched the open house class, make sure you guys watch it. You want to do a binder. In the binder, you're going to have the MLS on the house you're doing the open house for. You're going to have the survey, the seller's disclosure, any other information you can get your hands on about that listing, so that when people come in and ask you questions, you've got it all right there for you. And in there, that's where I'll put like the solds, the actives for the neighborhood, my IABS, my feedback, my open house feedback sheets, all of that goes in there. So if you haven't watched the recording class, watch it, take notes. But so what I do is when I do an open house, like on Fridays, I put my binder together for that open house that weekend and have it all ready to go so that I'm always prepared for those open houses. Yep, 1000%. All right, I'm gonna let you go. Oh, a couple things. So don't forget open house Sunday, 12 to 3. Next Tuesday, I'm trying to get the field trip scheduled. I've reached out to the inspector to confirm. We are gonna meet at a listing in Buda, and the inspector's gonna teach us all about inspections. So in the OneNote, I'll put the address, and on the calendar, I'll add the address. I've reached out to the agent where I want to do it. I just haven't heard back, and I haven't heard back from the inspector. So as soon as I confirm that, that's Tuesdays right here. This inspection field trip is at 11. So hopefully I'll see you guys there. And the next Wednesday is the company meeting. So lots going on next week. And we are all set. It should be on all your calendars that we're doing new agent training next Thursday at 10 a.m. All right. We'll see you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything.
You bet. Feel
Thank
better.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay.
I don't know where I hid my.
That's when you need to.
I do. I have it. I'm